Good morning. We have our like trucking cup. We have our glaring light. We have our um, lack of organization. Good morning. See if we get anybody in here. B Feline, you are the first one in here, and got a few things to talk about. It is a changing world we're living in, right? No, this ain't doom and gloom. Just some observations, and we'll get some people in here. We will talk about a few things. We're enjoying our morning coffee with our light trucking cup. My oldest daughter, she gave me this flavored coffee. It's been really good. And although I have trouble grinding beans, it's that's what happens when you use a $6 bean grinder, I guess. But so it's taken me a minute to get the consistency, But every now and then I'll open the grounds up to change them. I'm like, oh, there's whole beans in here. So we get some people in here. This will not go 16 hours. So just know that this will not be a 16-hour live feed. We've got a couple of drivers, and they're dispatched. So I don't have to worry about reloads until Sunday and Monday. But that was one of the things I wanted to talk about was the market's changing a little bit. And when you look at the results, it talks about it. Well, the story tells that it's typical January. So a few of the observations that I've been making have come true, and a few have not. So, anyways, let us go with the comments. You guys are pouring in here. Awesome. So, Pneumatic Brit, good morning from South Carolina. You are dealing with some bad weather, maybe, if you're all on the coast there. So be careful there, Mr. Brit. Patrick, what's up? Good morning. Sage News Live, Sage News Network. Live, yes I am. Sage, what's up? Mr. Charles, how you doing? You coming through Missouri anytime soon? Moose says trucking with T-Bone. I got my Maryland sweatshirt on today. Alan G gave me this shirt. Eons ago, and I couldn't even fit in this thing a couple of years ago. And he knew that. He's like, hey, this is for your future self. And he was right. I'm all about free hoodies. I got one from Cascade. I got one from Alan G. So, Alan G, if you're watching, I appreciate that. Scott SRO Logistics. When are you going to make a video, Scott? Scott's going to come visit me. He's going to hang out with me. And he's getting his truck fixed or something like that. But he's going to come out and hang out with me. He might actually go play with Freedom Pills and tools when he comes up here, depending on how much I'm doing here. Running a carrier can be a challenge if we're filling in for the guy that runs a carrier. I think it would be a better, accurate description. Morning. Okay. I thought maybe there was some cow speak that I needed to get a hold. Nothing witty is in the house. 10th verse. Heck yeah. Other trucker James Best. Good to see you alive and well. Morning, Snorelord. Sorry I've been watching you lately, but my mother passed away last week, and I was dealing with all that for the last few weeks of her illness. Robert, number one, my condolences to you. I know what that's like. I've gone through that with my dad. The last month he was alive was just absolutely just devastating. And even though he passed away back in 2003, it still doesn't really get any easier. So my condolences to you. But and if I don't see people in here, it doesn't. I don't really. You know, I'm. Every now and then there'll be a name that comes up like, I wonder if I tick them off, or I wonder if why they're not watching or whatever, or I wonder what happened to them. There's some people that I knew were watching that don't watch because they're no longer here. So it's good to see your name, Robert, and I always appreciate your um, um, your contribution to the channel. Common man. Yeah, I am kind of common. Weak? What are you talking about? OTJB, you're alive. Yep. Don't tell Pale Rider TV you like flavored coffee. I know. Look, there's no additives. Like I didn't add anything to it. But it's flavored, and basically they spray some flavoring on the beans as they're roasting them is basically what it is. But haven't heard from old Pale Rider lately. How's he doing? So, let's see. Morning, sir. Loading with salt and heading to Columbus, Ohio, which I'm pretty sure they probably need there, Mother Trucker. It's yeah, the weather's been kind of a challenge with dispatch. I mean, that's at some point, you have to drive in it, right? So clear but cold, good deal. Let's see. Everybody's saying hi to each other. Pale Rider TV. What is this that stands before me? What line is that? What song is that line from? Recording a few this weekend. Good deal. Yeah, because you will have some time. Not quite heading to Texas. Maybe when I leave there. Yeah, Texas. Even we're living in a time where even South Texas is dealing with some winter weather. So talk about you're in PA. T-Bone, you're probably having a lot of fun, aren't you? No. Truman H, good morning. Everybody's telling Robert their condolences. That was awesome. I'm going to scroll through these. I can't click on every single one, or I'll never get through these. The weak comment was because you aren't doing a 16-hour live feed. It would have been funny if you weren't behind. I know that. Okay, so I might just have to read comments and only highlight a few. Because I get, James Best will be live or Big Rig Steel will be live, and I'll make a smart aleck comment, but it's not funny because it took him 20 minutes to get to my comment. So I don't want to do that. So -7 outside. I don't think I'll be leaving my house today. Curtis, I'm with you, man. It's like -5 right now, I think. Let me look here. The cats every morning, they're like, hey, human guy that I would kill if I was the right size, I need you to let me outside. And so I open the door and they and then they run into the living room. And it's not even snowing or raining or anything. So it's hilarious watching our cats like refuse their privileges of going outside. As of right now, it is my phone updated. It's been dumb here lately. -3. The wind chill is -3. It's 5 degrees with a wind chill of -3. And it's going to get warm, though. It's going to get up to 20 degrees. No. So one of the things I want to talk about, and I don't know if I want to attempt this screen share thing. I don't know. It locks up, I think, if I do that, because my computer's like It's like me. It's old. It's got a beard, whole 9 yards. Um, so California at one point was a extremely hot market. It was like 1,000 loads going in and 6,000 coming out. Well, it's flip flop. How much has it flip flop? Let's see if I can do this here. Let's see if we can add what I need to do. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, did it break up? Let's see. See if we can do this here. Let me get Dad on here, and I don't think I don't think I do the screen share thing because I don't have a dual screen, or I think it's more difficult if you do it that way. Let's get my video up here. Make sure I'm not screwing it up. All right. So we'll see if we're still. So are we good? All right. You'll have to forgive me. It'll look weird. All right, still online, so that's good. Okay. We're on the DAP board. And okay, so if I knew how to do the screen share thing, I would, but California right now, there's 4,939 loads going in and 1,573 going out. In comparison, Washington is 1,341 and 875 coming out. 1,341 in and 875 out. So whenever I see those numbers, so I look, even though I was at Landstar and at Schneider, I've been following the DAP board stuff since the beginning of me being an owner operator. And what I can tell you is with all the prediction markets and all the hot market maps and all the stuff that's, you know, that solar throws at you, FreightWaves throws at you, one of the biggest predictors of market flipping is load ratios. Load ratios are important because they will tell you what markets you're going to struggle to get out of. And so what I've been, you know, and so people assume that I don't know much about running a load board because I don't run my own truck coast to coast, or I'm not looking at every market. You know, I kind of run in the same areas. There's a reason why I do that. I'm all about consistency. If I can make 3 going in and 3 coming out, I'd rather do that than 5 going in and 1 coming out, or 5 going in and nothing coming out. So I did score a $4.10 load with some big miles on it yesterday. And that was with a lot of limitations with that carrier because they're new, and a lot of people are like, you're not 90 days, you know. And then I believe our driver, I've got a pretty decent rate, especially for the area that he's running, and trying to keep him out of the bad weather. But when you look at California, so last week I noticed that California, the markets had flipped, right? It was a ton going in and nothing coming out. And I was talking to Cascade, who was like, wow, and he runs California all the time. He's one of these coast to coast guys and making huge money. He's doing really good. And he's helped me quite a bit, and I've helped him quite a bit. He was one of our top contractors here at Like Trucking and went on to get his own numbers, and he's doing very well. And I told him that it's probably not a good idea to go to California. So fast forward 5 days later, Chad Boblet on the Rate Per Mile Masters page was like, don't go to California. And the friend of mine that's a broker here in Springfield, Shannon, she also said, don't go to California. But when you look at the load ratios, I look at the even numbers, right? Where there's only maybe 100 load difference. And I noticed that when Jeff goes on the 123 load board and shows the hot market map, the states that are orange and red are always the ones that on the DAP board where the load ratio is off. So there's something to that, right? And so I might look at the load board and look at a bunch of loads going into Oklahoma, and I'll look at loads coming out and I notice that the rates are lower or the volume's lower. And so I look up DAT, and sure enough, the DAT and the 123 are telling me, yes, it's a soft market. So a lot of times, so what happens is volumes dictate rates. During the vid crash that we had, the rates were garbage because there was no volume. People were at home, they weren't buying anything, they couldn't make anything, and it was a challenge to keep your truck moving. It was a challenge to keep your truck moving. So, at a decent rate. And so when it comes to a low market, when it comes to a down market, your best bet that's worked for me, may not work for you, but one of the best bets is short haul, booking ahead, staying in the same areas that give you equal in, equal out. I'll give you an example. Ohio right now is 41.52 coming in and 47.43 coming out. So that tells me that Ohio is an excellent market. So if I was a carrier, I would get my Ohio intrastate. I would get my Ohio beer permit if it's needed. I think it's needed. And I would try to utilize that market as much as possible, because it doesn't matter which direction Ohio you go, you're going to get something good. So create a lane. So let's look at another state. Let's look at Illinois. Good old James Best land. Illinois is 32.26 going in and 38.99 going out. So if you can bounce between Ohio and Illinois, just go up and down 70 and utilize those two markets in a short game and book ahead, you will maximize your profits. I know it's more fun to go from, Illinois to Washington or Illinois to California, but with the way those markets are looking, you're bound to take a hit at some point or another. And I started to notice that they were paying pretty well to go into California, because when California was paying like 10 grand to come out to go to the Midwest, they were only paying 3 grand to go in. So, which, that comes for a very good, it goes for a good, week or so. But especially if you're a team, teams can really make that money, because you can always be moving. So there's no dead times. But for the most part, when you see it, and the thing with California, there's only 2 directions you can go, north or east. And so when you're forced into a place that you can't get out of but one direction, like for example, Minnesota, Florida, Maine, it could be a challenge. Now, what goes against that little bit of logic is Maine right now is 172 going in and 904 coming out. So, you gotta recognize the hot markets to stay in. I look for consistency. Again, I'd rather do 3 and 3 going in and 3 coming out, versus 5 going in and 1 coming out. Now that it kind of amounts to the same, but that's where load volumes kind of kick in. If load volumes are bad coming out, there's a possibility you might be deadheading out. So what good was that $5 a mile when you made nothing coming out to protect that profit? So, and then time gets involved. So if you go down to Miami, or let's say Port St. Lucie. So what would happen with me when I was a company driver is we were taking these loads out of Springfield. It was a load of plastic pallets going down to Port St. Lucie to Tropicana. And I'll tell you what, nothing confuses a guard shack more than a dry van coming in into a place that 99% reefer trailers come in. We're kind of the bastard children of the group. But we were doing steady loads of that a week, and so what would happen is our company would dead us all the way to Conyers, Georgia, which is about 600 miles. So you'd lose a day. So we deliver on Saturday and then pick up on Monday. And that shipper in Conyers was 24 hours. So that was good. But the 4 times that I went down to Port St. Lucie, I ended up 3 times going up to Conyers. So you lose the day with that 600 miles. But that Conyers was a contract thing that we had. So we were servicing 2 contracts. And so sometimes you got to deadhead to get back to what a contract needs. So if you have a steady load going into an area under contract, and you can't get anything out, then you have to base that contract off the fact that you might have to do some round trips. There are times in the spot market where I've done round trips just to keep moving, just to keep consistent. I do that all the time up in Kansas City. I utilize that Kansas City market now, down to here, and that's round trip. But the money's so good on them that it doesn't. It's okay. Now, if I can find something coming out, the other direction, then I'll do it. But that usually screws with the time of the regular loads that I was doing. So, all right. So let's go over these comments here. It'd be easier to just do this. Ryan says, "Screw this. Let's play some World of Tanks." Shadow Wolf's in the house. Good morning. Shadow Wolf, you in Springfield, man? If you're in Springfield, man, we'll hang out. It won't be outside, though. Talk about fantasy football. Fucking good morning. Talk about tank games. Need to find a good game. Lugnut, what's up? Did I miss anybody else? Dutch, yep. Talk about Meatloaf passed away. It's one of those deals where that you open Facebook for the first time in the morning and boom, there's some bad news, right? So it's a bummer. His role. Anybody who've seen what's the movie Black Dog? It's one of the cheesiest trucker movies ever, but Meatloaf is in that. He plays a bad guy. He plays a fleet owner / drug runner. so Ohio is definitely booming. I just pulled a hot load 300 miles for money. I have a friend who made $1,400 to go from 2 points in Kansas City, 49 miles. Oh, man. That's the reefer world, though. That's the reefer world. He sent me that rate con. I was just like, wow, maybe I need to get a reefer trailer. How many main loads are going to Canada? I'm curious about that. Curtis, that's a good question. I don't know if I can see that without investigating. But let's just look here. So if I click on the loads going out, Idaho, Texas, New York, Connecticut, North Carolina, Jersey, Montana. Oh, I'm scrolling through and there's nothing. No Canadian loads. Nevada, here's the logo and the Carthage from Maine. So yeah, there's not seeing any Canadian loads. So, and look, if you own warehouse space right now in a border town like in Michigan or in Maine or in New York or in Washington, you're probably going to start getting paid here pretty soon. Stuart says reefer is where it's at. You know what, Stuart? I will agree with you because those of you who follow Big Rick CO, he hasn't done a video in a while, but he went on to get his own authority. He was with SRO Logistics, and he bought a reefer trailer because that's the world that he knows very well, and he is banking an extra probably $500 a day versus what you can do in van. So he's doing really good. Over 20 years of trucking and never heard that phrase black dog until that stupid movie came out. Pale Rider's a hater. That's true, Pale Rider. You know what's funny is I've heard motorcycle guys talk about the black dog. So any motorcycle guys, I don't know if you've have you heard that term? Reefer and tanker, yes. I've got a friend of mine that's the safety director in a tank company. They're Nomadic Brit. And the rates that he's told me are just insane. Insane. Like, we're going to go to California and deadhead back insane and still profit quite a bit. So, yeah, there's some big stuff coming. Yep. Oh, from discussions. Well, Stuart's got something going on. Got in your clown car and spotted the whole other team. Vroom, vroom. There you go. Most of the Canadian loads are under contract with Canadian carriers or American carriers that cross the borders all the time, or forwarding companies have them. Yeah, I really don't see a whole lot of Canadian loads on the spot market. I know that Coyote usually has the most that I've seen. But the dynamics when it comes to Canada are changing because of the mandates and what the Canadian leaders are doing up there. So it's cold outside. When I took a leak off the back porch, turned into Orion. That's funny. Jeff says, start over. You didn't miss anything. My only problem with tanker is that there's not much spot market freight. It seems like a lot of contract freight. Stuart, that is absolutely true. I've always said that if, when I was at Landstar, I said if they start a tank division, I would like to do that. But I do have a friend that did work off of some broker boards with this tanker, because there was a tanker company here in Springfield called T-Haul that had owner operators, and he made really good money, but load selection was very low. Let's see. Truck prices up again. Your prediction coming true. Sean Fairman. Yeah, it's so there was a post on one of the rate pages where someone was saying, I have a suspended license. I'm getting ready to get off this 45-day suspension, and I'm looking for a carrier. And it was amazing to me how many people jumped to want to recruit this person. And Shane Ferris, he posted, anybody who wants to hire out of desperation like this, just sell me your equipment and I will give you a percentage of what that equipment makes, because I have well-qualified drivers and I can't find equipment. and you have a lot of people with equipment that can't find qualified drivers, and so they're getting desperate and they'll put any meat in a seat. And that's the worst part about a good market like this. You put any meat in a seat, you will pay the consequences, you know. And it was kind of funny. I looked at prices at MHC Kenworth recently online. I think it was Britt that sent me the screenshot of the Freightliner. And used prices are through the roof. Through the roof. Snorelord, 38,000 drivers quit over mandates, but Canada has been flooding the industry with new Canadians, and ever since then accident rates have gone up 200% since 2010. So yeah, I mean, look, the dynamics of everything are changing, right? You know, I've said that, you know, autonomous trucks may not take your job, but they're going to change dynamics. You know, autonomy has already changed the dynamics at shippers receivers. You know, I pick up a lot of CHEP pallets, and CHEP is pretty much streamlined everything. They're almost getting to the point of Niagara water, where you come in, you type on a little computer thing, iPad looking thing, it gives you a doc, you back into the doc, you go back into a little room with your little iPad thing. When you're done, you type in your deal, it prints your bills, you don't talk to one human being. A lot of water places like that, like there's another Premium Waters is like that. Pallet places are beginning like that. And, you know, it's funny because the pallet place in Springfield, you know, it's got like, it's been around a minute, right? You go in there, it's kind of old and everything, but then there's these brand shiny new iPad things, and instead of the window where a person would sit, now it's a mirrored window. You can't even see in there now. So it's and the good news is I come in, there's not somebody, you know, telling me that I can't get unloaded or loaded early. Now the computer is just like, well, he's here, give him a door once it's available. All right, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about this program where they talk about putting kids behind the wheel of a truck. Okay, so we've all determined that this is a bad idea. Okay, we've all determined that. Every YouTuber that's talked about it, every person in the, you know, in the truck stop counter has talked about it. Okay, all right, but it's happening. There's nothing that you can do that's going to stop it. Okay, so being the elders out here, our job is to make sure that these kids do the right things. Be a good example, because that's the only way you can control or at least lessen the impact that it's going to have. You have to teach these kids the right way. And when you look around, there's a lot of old school mentalities that are disappearing. Okay, is it a great idea? We can debate that all day long, but the reality is that it's coming, it's happening. And so the best thing that we can do is take these people under our wings and make sure they do the right things. Teach them how to back, teach them how to spot, teach them how to act at customers. You know, show them that tailgating a car 5 feet from the, you know, from its rear end is not good in a truck, you know. And the companies that fail to train these young kids correctly, they will suffer the consequences with insurance, lawsuits, and you know, civil suits. So if you're a carrier that's thinking about hiring one of these kids, you have the opportunity to mold this person the way that you want, which is kind of what they're after. I've been told by several recruiters that they would rather have someone fresh out of CDL school than a 20-year veteran truck driver, because they can at least teach the new kid how they want you to be for their company, right? So that's the mentality about that. Stuart says, I'm getting offers for my truck, which are more than I paid for it. Business Mind is telling me to cash in while I can. If you've got a different avenue to go into to make money. All right. Let's see if I can. Shadow Wolf's got a good comment. Heck, in the reefer world, there are places that I don't see anyone except the yard dog. Yep. Now, Robert brings up a good point. There are states that allowed 18-year-olds to drive a big truck as long as they didn't leave their state, so I don't have any problems with it. That is true. I don't know if Missouri falls under that category, but so basically they're just allowing interstate instead of just intrastate. I know that show Trick My Truck. You remember that show back in the day on the History Channel, or was it the Learning Channel? I can't remember. They're all the same. They had a guy that was under, I think, 23, so he couldn't drive out of state, and they were doing a cab over for him. It's pretty nice. It was a cab over style I don't like, but they did a pretty good job with it. I'll agree with that statement, Curtis. "18-year-old is just a stopgap in the labor shortage till autonomous is proven. Megas want to cut costs and only look at the profits." Right. And that's the thing. A lot of carriers only think of meat in the seat, right? Thank you, Pale Rider. As long as they're trained properly, I have no problem with it at all. And it's up to us, the veteran truck drivers, to teach these guys, right? And a lot of people that young are afraid of the size of the vehicle, so I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of people jumping on board with that. Now, when I was 18 and I was told that if I could drive a truck, oh man, I would have been all about it because that was my dream job. However, 18 years old, you're still in high school. You graduate. You're barely getting ready to graduate. So I think a lot of the people that will take advantage of that are the ones that don't want to flip burgers or don't want restaurant jobs in general, or had a lifelong dream of becoming a truck driver. So I started driving at 13, working on a farm. So I got used to driving big equipment at an early age, combine tractors, etc. And that's the other thing. There's a lot of farm kids that are going to be able to have no issue with that. Yeah, I wish I would have started when I was 18 too. I'd be a lot further along, I think, though. I know 18-year-olds that can back better than some old hands, right? Hod Hill trucks are going to do nothing but increase in price with the lack of parts for repair. For leaving stuff off the trucks, pretty soon no sensors for emissions. Going to have to remove emissions just to be able to remove freight. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, that's what's creating the capacity crunch. So, while they're busy putting 18 and 20-year-olds into trucks, what trucks are they putting them in? Dog's barking. Yeah, I agree. Look, the first autonomous trucks are going to have people in them, right? But they have, or at least a lead truck. So it's going to take a while, but I'm saying it's going to change dynamics either way. So, would you rather have an 18-year-old driving or a robot? That's a good question. That's a good question. That to me is equal parts, I think, because they're both inexperienced. So I think either way, it's you're 18 and trucking. Hell, I flew over the Swift yard out of Arizona last week, and their yard is full of trucks just sitting by the shop. It looks like a wrecking yard out there. Yeah, I mean, they're cannibalizing their own trucks. So, well, Scribe, it's going to go in phases, right? Um, it's going to go in phases. So, but look, I haven't jumped on the bandwagon of YouTubers complaining about autonomous trucks because I'm not threatened by it. I'm just saying that it's coming. They're working on it. It may not happen tomorrow, may not happen in the next couple of years, but Walmart's already got autonomous trucks running around Bentonville area. And there are already trucks out there that have lead trucks that are on the interstate. So now, last I looked, making money at a rail yard, moving trailers around or doing that last final mile delivery wasn't paying as well as running freight across. And so, in my opinion, being a business owner can help insulate to a lot of that, but it doesn't mean that the dynamics won't affect you. So, you know, you're correct. You should do a better job. We should do a better job of training the younger generation of drivers, but some of them don't listen at all at that age. That is absolutely true, Robert. That is absolutely true. Anybody who's a parent will tell you that. Robot will do what it's programmed to do. The 18 will not follow the rules of the road. Current drivers go flying down mountains past above this posted speed limit. Right. So, thank you. Thank you, Scribe. What's up? Big Houston. Big Houston. Go check out his channel. He finally did a video. After 15 years of absence, he finally did a video. It won't happen in full force until we were dead and gone. Yeah. It'll be like iRobot. That movie iRobot will be like that. We unfortunately have had 2 rollovers in the last 7 days with 90-day drivers. Lack of training and understanding of tanker work. Yes. Britt, absolutely. When I was in CDL school, the guy that was my instructor, he was an ex-tanker, right? And I came on this, I got on this cloverleaf a little bit too fast, and he was like, whoa, very nice guy. One of the best people you ever meet. I don't have stories of abusive trucking schools like some of these people do. This guy was awesome. And he said, if we were in a tanker, we would have flipped with that turn. And so from that point on, I'm never more than, 7th gear on a cloverleaf. And look, that's how I do it. I throw it in this, I'll slow down up to a cloverleaf, and I'll throw it in 7th if there's no traffic on that cloverleaf, and that usually does the trick. When you're in an automated truck with an automated transmission, it's all about the brakes. It's all about what speed you're at, and it's that's part of the issue. I think is that when you have an automated transmission, for me, it's a little bit easier work, so it makes you a little bit more complacent. Complacency is what creates situations. What is worse, teaching an 18-year-old or a 50-year-old to drive a big truck? I just said teach, not drive. Yeah. Shadow Wolf, that's a good point. You got people people that have left their long careers and got into trucking at age 50, and you got a lot of years of bad driving habits to get rid of. Whereas an 18-year-old, they're just developing the driving habits. So,
can I jump in and make one comment? One of the guys about the 18-year-olds. I'm apparently doing it whether you want me to or not because you're sitting and letting me.
No, I'm going to mute it and tell you to shut the hell up. No, go ahead. No, just go ahead. Go ahead.
One of the guys said that a lot of these 18-year-olds won't listen. I don't know if that lets you experienced drivers fully off the hook, just from a moral standpoint. Obviously, legally, you don't have any responsibility to be nice to other drivers or to try to help or whatever. But from a moral standpoint, I think if you at least try, whether the other guy listens or not, that's on him. But then at least you've done your part.
Right.
Some of them might listen, and you never know who's who. And some of them might listen if they hear the same thing 3 or 4 times. Maybe you're the third person, and he finally goes, oh, I keep getting the same advice. Maybe I better try it. Or maybe you're just that first drop and plant the seed, and then he hears it 3 other times from 3 other drivers. And then later he'll go like, oh, damn, I should have listened to that first guy. You know? So whether they listen or not, you don't have to worry about that. That's on them. Is my, I guess, all I have to say on that.
That's a great point. Plant the seed, and don't just assume the 18-year-olds won't listen, right? Because I know a lot of old fogies like me that don't listen. So. Ryan says, hell no, I ain't going to listen. I ain't the boss. You ain't the boss of me. James Best agrees with you. Truck Diver says a lot of wisdom there. The boss is talking, says SRO.
Hi, Scott. Tell Rosa I said hi, please.
The Magnet says hello. Cost money to train, which takes away the bottom dollar, and unfortunately the most common way into the industry through Omega, which are profit conscious. Right. Well, they're getting extra special money for churning out new people, which is why their turnover rate is huge. They're not worried about the turnover rate. The turnover rate actually brings them profit. Whereas a small company, not so much. They invest that money and they want, and so, like, for example, the company I started with was Transland out of Springfield, Missouri. And at that time, they were hiring people out of school. And the guy that was my instructor that yelled at me for going too fast around the corner, he actually worked for them. And he's the one that pointed me in their direction because he knew that that's kind of what I wanted. I didn't want to work for Omega. We went to Prime. We went and saw their big facility at Prime, and we're like, this is pretty rad, but I don't feel it, right? And nothing against Prime, but I wanted a small, more personable company. And when you talk to the other Transland drivers, they've been there 10, 20 years, that kind of thing. And whereas the average new person stays with the company a little bit less than a year, and the average new driver stays in the industry less than 2 years. So, the odds are against you anyways. So I don't see the 18-year-old thing making an impact one way or the other. But it's our job, as the boss just said, to plant the seeds of knowledge, plant the seeds of good habits. Tell them that this is not your Camaro that your parents gave you at age 16. This is a truck. Respect the equipment, respect the road, respect the drivers, respect the weather, and you have to teach that kind of respect. When we go out to friends' houses or we go out to eat, from when our kids were very little, people would comment about how well behaved our kids were, of how, because we were never that family at the Golden Corral with the kid going nuts and throwing Cheerios everywhere, and we were never that family. We taught our kids to be respectful, to be polite, There's a lot of apologies and thank yous and gratitude from our kids. And, respect is something that you have to teach. And there's a lot of examples of the lack of respect. When you talk to drivers if you're an employer that's talking to your employees, you gotta teach them. You gotta talk to them with respect. Me as a YouTuber, if you ask a question, it's my job to be respectful to you, respect your wishes, not to just suddenly throw insults at you and call you an idiot, because that's not respectful. And so if I'm not respectful, how can you respect me? And so why would you listen to what I had to say? So that's a big part of it. There's just a lot of people in and out of our industry that are just not respectful of other people. Hand the show over to her. She's working though, Mr. Best. Food is good. I will admit, look, I have a friend of mine from the metal scene that was a chef over there. And I have had the Prime Cafe, and it's good. And they give, I don't know if they still do it. Shadow Wolf, if you're in here, do they still give the free food to the cops? I know that the cops go in there, and I'm like, and I remember when we were in there, like, why are there so many cops in here? I was like, yeah, because they give them free food. I'm like, oh, okay. That was me going nuts at the Golden Corral. In this day and age, Orion, that's the thing. Our military's been weakened because of what happened in Afghanistan, the whole woke thing, and with all the PTSD that a lot of former military people are going through right now, recruiting is difficult in that world. And so an 18-year-old might go, okay, I've just finished high school. I don't want to go to college because that's a road of student debt, student loan debt. I don't want to go in the military because all my friends' dads are messed up because of that. And I don't want to flip burgers. So I'm going to go drive a truck. So there's that. You were the kid going nuts. You still go nuts. You throwing Cheerios everywhere, Ryan? Are you that guy? I had a young new dispatcher try to tell me how to drive my truck and run my logs. Guess how that ended up, right? I've had that issue too. My last dispatcher at Transland, which he quit literally a month after I left, he kind of helped drive me going to being an owner op because he just absolutely had no clue. He came from the sales department. I'm like, what are you doing putting somebody in sales as a fleet manager? How's that? It didn't end well for him. And obviously he left the company because of that. Have manners. Yes, Mr. Best. Business ideas. Pale Riders Trucking School for 18-year-olds. Brilliant. There you go. Because I know Pale Rider would be a good teacher. He's respectful on the road. He doesn't drive like a bat out of hell. And I've done runs with him, so I know. He's all about the pre-trips. He's all about opening that hood. He's all about wearing the right, he's got jeans and boots, He's all about that. So I think that he would do good. Pale Rider School of teaching 18-year-olds how the old school way, which is kind of what we need. That's the thing. Look, business and trucking is not done the same way as it was 20 years ago, but the driving mentality needs to be the same as it was 20 years ago. It's like telling our kids put the seatbelt when they get in the car when they were young. Now they do it through habit. Yes, exactly, Stuart. Exactly. I get yelled at if I don't put my seatbelt on. Like if we're just going down like to the corner store, I won't put my seatbelt on. My kid's like, Dad, put your seatbelt on. So I'm really good about the seatbelt stuff. So could be a game changer. Yep. It could. Cool idea, Pill Rider, and your other instructor will be Shadow Wolf. Man, can you? Oh, dude. All right, guys. Quit your carriers. Let's start this school, right? Shadow Wolf and Pale Rider teaching the young bucks how to do it right. We'll change the trucking industry, right? If you didn't know, Mr. James' best live feeds are getting better than Howard Stern. Shadow Wolf, I will agree with you there. Definitely agree. There we go. Hit the thumbs up. Thank you, Pneumatic Brit. Nothing Witty says, can we start a GoFundMe to get Pale Rider school started? Yes, we should do that. Get a school started, and capitalize. See, that's the thing. Capitalize on this thing that's coming that you have no control on under, right? So autonomous trucks, if you think they're going to take your job, capitalize on the opportunities that they might present. So robot trucks need fuel. Robot trucks need tires. Robot trucks will get stuck, and you could be the guy that like, hey, I've got a robot truck stuck on I-80 because it's an idiot and the sensors went down. And like, tell you what, sir, I will go get that truck for you and drive it back home. So, capitalize on that. Capitalize on that. That is what creates opportunity is capitalizing on changes that you see coming and that you have no control over. So that's kind of what needs to happen. Now, if anybody wants to come in, I can put a link here. I got 2 rules if you come in. Number 1, watch the language. And number 2, don't be driving. If you're driving, do audio only. So I got a tow truck and it's going to cost you, right? And look, I imagine the tow trucks companies are salivating at autonomous trucks because sensors go down. And that's the thing. So computers aren't perfect. Sensors aren't perfect. How many times have you had your dash light up like a Christmas tree? It was a wiring issue. That's a real thing. So just have an old truck and go up to repower the load. There you go. I don't want to be a trainer again. I ain't got enough purple pills. I do not miss my training days at all. Out of all the people I've trained, one went on to be a safety director at his company. One went on to be a great owner operator over at Schneider. And I've lost contact with him, but I think he's still doing good. He was a good driver. He's one of the few that I would actually team with. Big Rig CEO and we were kind of the main components of some of the training. Standards over at Transland. I don't know if I still have any students that are still over at Transland. I think there's one there still, but that's turnover, not. There's one guy that I tried to teach, and he was a lost cause. And how do I know? Because he was an older guy who didn't listen, to my wife's point. And after 1 week with me, I brought him back to the yard and said, look, this is not just a personality conflict. I think that this guy will end up costing you some money. No. It's probably just a personality thing. So we're going to put him with somebody else. So he did 1 week with me, and our training program over there was 8 weeks, which, that's time of training is kind of tough at times. And he had to do an extra week with that person. So this guy had 10 weeks of training. And when I gave him up to the other trainer, I put in this 2-page essay of the issues that I seen and the issues that's going to cause problems. And sure enough, within the first 6 months of him driving a truck over at Transland on his own, he had backed into 3 things. And at one point tried to turn around on a 2-lane Arkansas road. I think it was Highway 7. You saw one of these tractor pull-off spots that they use for tractors, farm tractors, so cars can go through, and hung the truck up on the fuel tanks because he didn't realize that it dropped down, and literally blocked the entire road. It was lucky that no one crashed into him. Caused 30 grand worth of damage to that truck. So they fired him, and they asked him if he was going to go anywhere. He said, "No, I'm done trucking." Some people just aren't built for this job. And so at that point is when the safety department said, "You know what, Steve might kind of know what he's talking about." And that was one of the things I go over with training. You know, how many bonehead trucker videos have you seen where someone was trying to turn around and didn't realize that their truck was too big for that spot? You know, like, for example, church parking lots. Church parking lots look like they're big enough to turn around in, but they usually have a lot of light poles, but it's the driveways that you have issues with church parking lots. Okay. So when I was training, we would look at a parking lot and say, "Do you think you could turn around there?" "Oh yeah, that looks big enough." "Nope, it wasn't big enough." Like, "Nope, that's not big enough." So as a trainer, that was important because that is one of the biggest aspects, you know, going down roads that you're not supposed to go down, which we've all done. You know, GPS led us down the wrong path, or we took a wrong turn. I did that in Chicago. You want to talk about nervous wreck, you know? But I managed to get out of it unscathed because I kept calm. And that's one of the things that these 18-year-olds have to learn is calmness, because not to panic, not to hit that panic point, because it's a panic point when you just like, all right, screw it, I'm hitting the gas. I don't care if it rips off the tandems or rips off that road sign or rips off that power line. You know, that panic point is what makes you do that. And there's a lot of older guys out here that hit that panic point and don't know how to focus after that. So it's that's important, right? There was a load that I was doing up in Maryland, up in the Baltimore area, and it was one of those where he had the dock like this, you know, the truck was like this, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't make that. It was like my first 2 years of drive. Oh no, my first year of driving. So it was in my first Volvo that TransLink gave me. I couldn't do it. And so I get out. I said, "I can't do this." And there was another TransLink driver there with a different truck. And he's like, I'm like, "Can you help me?" He's like, "Well, you're going to have to unhook because I don't know that Volvo, blah, blah, blah." And so I was like, okay, fine. So I got in the truck. I breathed. Got it in the first shot out of that. So once you can calm your mind, that's the most important thing in any situation that you're in anything in life. Here's a list of a couple of my students still at Prime. One got fired first day on the road solo. Other went back to her regular job of all. I love the training and, but it's just not profitable for me, to be honest, with insurance costs, etc. Yeah, that's true. Walmart got to be the best trucker job in America. At one time it was, and I think it still is, money wise. I know they have a lot of rules, but you know, it just depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for money, then yeah, absolutely. And you're always going to be working. You never hear of Walmart laying off drivers. I trained back in the day, couldn't do it now. I've gotten too old and grouchy. Training is horror. But how much that panic is from peer pressure from the guys on the CB or everyone on the camera with the camera out. But the next sentence we say, it's our responsibility to train the younger generation. Absolutely. I agree with that. At the time that I was dealing with this back, of course, cell phone cameras weren't the rage at that point, so I didn't have to worry about that. Nobody was really yelling at me on the CB, you know, like at truck stops, like that can happen. But I was being watched by a bunch of people who were ready for me to get this done so they can go about their day. And so that was a lot of it too. So you have to be able to handle stuff under pressure. So if you think about an 18-year-old, we're going to We're going to put a gun in his hand, send him overseas to fight an enemy he knows nothing about. That's a lot of pressure. So I think that they could probably handle the pressure of driving a truck. It's just how you handle that pressure, peer pressure or not. Peer pressure, it's just another. Yeah, that panic is induced by that. But if you have a, I don't care what you think, attitude as far as, trying to back in, I'll give you another point. So Pacific, Missouri Pilot, those of you who have been there know what I'm talking about. It's very tight parking up there, unless you get the back row against the rocks. People have been shot there because of the fuel island, because people spend too much time at the fuel island because no one wants to park back there. And you got those big stairs that most, heavy, overweight truck drivers hate, myself included. There was a Swift driver backing into a spot, and he got out and looked and got out and looked. He was doing everything that he was taught to do. And one person got on the CB and said, "Oh, how many times you got to get out of the truck there, Swift?" And he just got torn apart by the rest of us at the CB. Like, look, would you rather him hit your truck? You're the reason why these Swift guys don't want to listen to the CB radio, is because you're why sit there and be criticized. And so when it comes to CB radio, the treatment that young drivers have gotten on the CB radio is why they will not go on the CB radio. Because their trainer had a bad experience on the CB radio. So it was like, oh, don't even turn that on. Don't even put it in your truck. It's not worth it, And what's happening now? You have a lot of wrecks. You have a lot of safety issues because drivers aren't running with their CB radio on. I've talked about that at length. So that's a perfect example of the situation. Start driving trucks in Germany, bunch of Germans yelling at you while you're trying to back a trailer on a fifth wheel. Pressure. So, I mean, so whether you think it's a good idea or not, it's happening, right? So, but also the other thing I want to talk about was the softer markets that's coming in. Don't panic. We're talking about panic points. It is just mid to late January, and it's going to last until mid-February. And try to stay in markets where you're going to get even in, even out. Pay attention to those load ratios, and and which can be a challenge when it comes to this weather, because what happens when there's a big, huge snowstorm that came through like the one last week that affected everything from North Dakota to South Carolina? You run to Texas or you run to Florida. Well, guess what? That softened the market there. And so now all of a sudden, now you're not getting good rates going to Florida. Now you're not getting good rates going to Texas because they know everybody wants to go in there. And then also, brokers are anticipating springtime to be very, very heavy, volume-wise, and they know that they're going to get it in the shorts. So they're trying to lower rates for as long as they can, as much as they can. So the driver was doing the right thing. Those that are in a hurry can just wait, period. That is absolutely true, Shadow Wolf. And that's what one of the best advices that I got from my instructor from CDL school is, you drive your truck, okay? You drive your truck. The guy behind you is not driving your truck. The guy at the truck stop's not driving your truck. The guy complaining about you driving the speed limit's not driving your truck. You drive your truck. And if they got to wait, that's their problem. You just got to kind of delete the outside world, right? So, give you a perfect example. When I was at Landstar, I'm sitting there tooting along at 62 miles an hour in Ohio on that stretch right before you get to Columbus, where it's 3 lanes and it's 70 miles an hour. And this driver flies by me, gets in front of me, only to exit. he gets on the CB and says, Landstar, are you okay? And I said, yeah. Why? Is there something going on? Do I have a flat tire? He's like, no, you're just driving real slow. I'm like, well, unless you're signing my paycheck or paying for my fuel, how about you let me drive my truck? Well, you don't have to get all, tiffy about it. Like, look, dude, and then I said, what good is it that you just literally cut me off to get off the exit? You're going to stay at that stop sign for 5 vehicles. I said, you have a nice day, sir. And we drove on. And then people wonder why people don't run with their CB radios on. What I'm hearing and what I've always said is we're our own worst enemy. I have done several videos about that topic. We are the reason why there's ELDs. We are the reason why there's all these safety regulations. We are the reason why people don't run with their CB rating on. We are the reason why people don't last in this industry for more than several years. Us, the fleet owners, the carriers, we're all a part of this plan. When you have a carrier brag about how they've hired 5,000 people in 1 year and they've only got 2,500 trucks, and they're proud of that, Nevada, what's up? I troll in CB from my little Cadillac. Yeah, I got the run with Big Houston. Big Houston's a safe driver. He and I ran from Arkansas to Florida. That's on a vlog I did, I think. And he's a very safe driver. I had no issues with him. So that's my comment. And we did have our CBs on. In fact, we passed Shadow Wolf on the other side. We saw him and hollered at him. I don't think he heard us, but yeah, we ran with the CB on and it was good. That saying is for life in general. Stop worrying about what other things and how you move in your own life. Well, but here's the thing, Mr. Charles, and that's great advice. However, you want to be able to listen to people that are willing to give you advice, right? So instead of like the thing at the pilot, if the guy would have said, hey, let me help you to where you don't have to get out as much, Mr. Swift, or hey, that was a good job, I'm glad you didn't hit anything, that would be positive reinforcement. And so, yes, you have to have the ability to block out people that aren't contributing. Their constructive criticism isn't, or their criticisms aren't contributing, but constructive criticism does. So constructive criticism versus just criticism, being able to differentiate between that's the challenge, because next thing you know, it's like, I don't listen to anybody because they're idiots. They know you miss a good piece of advice. And, and then a lot of people know what they need to do. I can't tell you how many times I've given advice and I talk to the person and they're like, yeah, I need to do this. Yeah, I need to do that. And they just don't do it. They just don't do it. And they're like, yeah, Steve, you're right. I need to do this. I need to do that. And it's the same conversation over and over. People know what they need to do sometimes. They just don't do it. So the other way, Chuck. And that is the poison of the internet. Yes, advice is good, but everyone has an opinion, right? And so you have to drive your truck and recognize constructive criticism. If someone comes on me, dude, you're backing like an idiot, I will go, well, help me not to. But most of the time, human nature is going to kick in. You're going to flip them the bird and tell them to get out of your way. so you heading somewhere?
No.
Oh, okay. So being able to differentiate and be calm in times of crisis is being able to differentiate between criticism and constructive criticism. So, man, we got that weird name troll thing going on. There it is. It's about intention. Is the other guy being helpful out of kindness or just to make himself look smart? And the third thing I'll add to that, Nothing Witty, is it is about intention. Some people are going to help you out of kindness. Some people will help you just to make themselves look smart. And other people just want to help you so you don't hit them. So most of the time, there have been times where, not most of the time, there have been times where people have helped me. Like, I'll give you another example. I was in New Jersey. I was having trouble back in the spot. This guy comes out and he goes, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm trying to back in the spot. He's like, he just shook his head. It's like, I said, how about you help me not hit your truck? You know, I don't care whether you want to help me or not, but I definitely know you don't want me to hit your truck, right? He's like, yeah. So he's outside, he's out of the truck doing this, you know, like I was an inconvenience, you know, to him. And it ticked me off, but I didn't hit his truck. So he didn't have an insurance claim. I didn't have an insurance claim. My company was happy. His company was happy. And that's important, right? That's important. So Cash is king trucking. What is up, my friend? Two of those three, you should just take the help, right? So, but anyways, guys, I think we've been at this over an hour. If there's anything else you guys want to talk about, load ratios, pay attention to them. Don, you are late. I will show your comment just to celebrate the fact that you're late. Load ratios are your biggest predictor of how market's going to be hard or soft. Equal in, equal out equals equal money. It allows you to be consistent. So if you're an out and back person like me, I like going from Missouri to Ohio, Ohio back to Missouri. You know what the load ratios are in those two states? Let's look here. Missouri is 1650 going in and 2024 coming out. And Ohio is 4214 coming in and 4906 coming out. So that's not a huge stretch between the two numbers. And so you make 44 and 70 your bitch, you will make some money. I even did that with hey TK. I even did that with Schneider. I would take a load from Missouri to Illinois, Illinois to Ohio, Ohio, Illinois, Illinois to Ohio, Ohio to Texas. Take a little bit of hit because that load went directly to the house. Made good money doing that. Okay, it's cold out there. All right. Everyday Ray, what is up? Good morning, Steve. Thank you for putting a smile on your face. Absolutely. Absolutely. You want to talk about old school? Everyday Ray. So here's what you missed. Do you think that Pale Rider and Shadow Wolf should open a trucking school to teach these new 18-year-olds how to drive the old school way? I think that's a good idea. I think you could be a part of that too. Definitely. I met Ray. He was over at GATS one year. He gave me a huge compliment on one of my videos. And I really appreciate it. Oh, don't want to put anybody on timeout accidentally. So it's yeah, so the markets are changing. Look, and it's just, don't panic. It's just normal January. But as this equipment gets banged around for the winter, and depth sensors and filters go out because of the cold. Equipment, you have to nurse this equipment, and between the equipment situation and higher volumes come springtime, if you're a shipper, you're going to be hating life. If you're a broker, you're going to be hating life because you're going to be fighting a lot of people for as low rates as possible, and you're not going to get them. So, oh, let's look at Michigan. You want to look at Michigan there? Michigan is 1932 going in and 22.97 coming out. So yeah, that's a good spot. Now the problem with some of these even number of states is that they're all, you know, drenched in winter weather a lot, like Michigan and, you know, and Ohio. So fair weather drivers, you know, look, I'm a fair weather driver. I try to avoid storms as much as possible, but sometimes you just can't avoid it. However, if you want to run primarily the southeast to the southwest, you're going to deal with lower rates because you and 5,000 other million drivers will want to stay south of 40 during all of this mess. So, especially if you're a I-20 and below guy to guy, it's you know you just if you've got low overhead and got some good customers and some good broker relationships, you're going to make money. And right now, the rates coming out of the southeast are actually pretty good because of volumes. But again, that's volumes. So Indiana, let's look at Indiana. Indiana is 29.25 going in and 27.99 going out. So that Indiana is a good spot. Let's look up Virginia. Robert? Virginia. 1,700 going in and 22.05 coming out. Now, West Virginia is a different story. Well, no, yeah, West Virginia is 543 going in and 492 out. If you guys watch Jeff's 123 low board demonstrations, notice that West Virginia is always red, always, always, always. So if you're going at West Virginia, you're probably going to deadhead out of there for something decent. So, but luckily, West Virginia is kind of a tiny state. It's like itty bitty, so you can kind of get out of there. So I-10 and below is the way to go. That should be. We need Pale Rider TV T-shirts and on the back saying I-10 and below is the way to go. I was running Michigan to Missouri for the last few weeks, but now I need some warmer weather. But Texas is cold too, so now that didn't work. Yeah, and if I had to choose between being in Michigan during a snowstorm and Texas during a snowstorm, I'm going to choose Michigan all day long. But Chucky is making some phenomenal money. He and I talked business last week when he was here. We had lunch, and Michigan to Missouri is definitely a good lane. If you're a cold weather, snowy guy, doesn't worry about that. Michigan to Missouri is a good lane. Oh, yeah, it's cold still. Ugh. Look, we got a cat. He's very happy. Look how happy he is. Look at how happy he is in this situation. You never see James Best carry his cat and do this. You never see that, but you're seeing me do it. So he's like, yeah, I'm over this. Hawaii is a pretty communistic and racist state. I've lived there. I know. I heard Vegas in February is nice. LOL. Hey, let's look at Nevada. Not the YouTuber, but the actual state here. Nevada, where are you? Alphabetical is hard. Cat, I already tried. 1116 going in and 480 going out. So you're probably better off just taking a rental car or a plane to Nevada. If you're going to James Best Ultra Mega Las Vegas party. If you're doing that, then copycat. Oh, that was so cheesy. I was at the Great Lakes Sunday, -10, never again. And especially what you do, you probably have to get outside and everything. Me, I just have to open some doors and call it good. Hell, some docs don't even have to do that. I should just take another trip to the Caribbean. Nevada, I can't wait to go home and let this weather blow over. If you are an owner-operator, let me tell you this, okay? This was a goal for me originally, okay? All right, we're going to try this again. No, I'm kicking you out. Go on. Damn cat. Our heating bill goes ways up because the cat's like, I don't know, kind of sucks. I don't know. Should I? So, cat wants me on camera. No, he ran away from me. One of the goals that I originally had when I set out to do this was to be able to not work hardly at all between January and February, and that's proven to be good. And that's helped me with this dispatch thing. So yeah, January, February, work minimal months, do the same loads. Freeze protect becomes an issue. Like it's going to be in the 20s, no higher than the 20s in this area. And so hauling water, Pepsi, Coke, that kind of stuff is kind of a no-go. February 17th, -22, Orion. Oh, 17 through 22. Yeah, Orion. James Best is doing this whole thing. He's remarkably staying here. These cats are not lap cats hardly at all. Every now and then they get weird or something, but you will bring your tassels. And I know Orion, man, he will bring tassels. He'll do it. But yeah, there'll be so sometimes you watch James Best channel and it's hey, what we're going to do in Vegas time. And so you're anticipating all these awesome live feeds, and then they never come. So there you go. That's where we're at. So, Cat, we're going to try it again. No, he just wants me to play with him at this point. So, but anyways, guys, I think we're going to end this video. I think I've overstayed my welcome, and this is almost empty. So, hopefully you enjoyed this morning coffee thoughts. Those of you who are members, I hope you saw. I don't know how well YouTube notifies members of members only videos. I did a members first. I don't believe in doing members only, but I did do a members first video about concealed carry on the truck. I don't particularly like my video, but I put it out there anyways. I hope you enjoyed it. It is not legal advice whatsoever. Make sure to take him to a Golden Corral at least once while you're out there. Yeah. Take Orion to Golden Corral. I'm in Idaho delivering today. Getting my go home load should put me in 24K for the week. Awesome. Who's going to the truck show? I am, but that all depends because we don't know how the Canada situation's going because Thunder Funding is doing a thing, or not them, yeah, Thunder Funding and 123 Low Board. So we'll see if that actually happens. So, Top Dog Logistics, what's up? But I plan on going to the truck show in Mid America Truck Show, and whether we drive the personal truck or the big truck remains to be seen. Yeah, life is hard for you, isn't it? Yeah, poor cat. So abused. So abused. So abused. But yeah, we I've got business cards to hand out when I get to Mid America. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody that's been involved in this. And be good, be safe. Strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Peace.